mentioned at the beginning, Neil, that no one here knows it all about digital twins, and I feel as if I'm the poster child for that now, and I'm just realising how much we don't know about it. Maybe 12, 18 months ago, digital twin really wasn't kicking around, and now it's pretty much everything, and it's tremendous to see the galvanising kind of force across the different professions and sectors of government. I'm shocked that Amanda has told us that we having come so far with digital twin, we now have to find a new terminology, a new language, and maybe move it on. In terms of how we kind of got here from DNRME, I thought I'd just spend a moment. We provision a lot of the spatial data, really thousands of data sets. 500 transactions per second are what is coming out of our infrastructure at the moment, and that is growing continually. Most of it goes to the private sector. 80% of that traffic is out to industry. And what we're being asked for by our customers is for that information to be more precise, more accurate, particularly around the cadastre, for it to be 3D and completely current. Now, that is to deal with a lot of the digital twin conversations that we've been having today. How do we position this content correctly? And the data sets are becoming incredibly detailed. We're moving into one-to-one quality content. So reality meshes are really the thing that we're seeing now, where previously we were dealing with 2D imagery, we're now seeing 3D models. These are tremendously accurate. 2 centimetre resolution, plus or minus 5 centimetres in terms of their absolute precision. And this is enabling the potential for digital twins to come through. This is the fabric on which building information models, networks are being built and constructed. This is not Cross River Rail, this is the Ipswich Rail Yards. I just want to make that clarification, and thanks to our colleagues at Ipswich for sharing this detail with us. And of course, with this content, we can start to both model and connect all of this really rich detail, and here at QUT, and this is P Block just next door, showing how this material can come together. So for us, we came into this conversation about the foundation piece. How can we ensure that we have the positioning framework correct? How can we make sure that the cadastre, which gives us access into the land administration system, into ownership, into mortgages, into the capital markets, are all available for us to work with? So we talk a lot about spatially enabling the digital twin. And we've seen some fantastic examples today, and we've spoken about them. We've seen where the Brits are going, and the Singapore Land Authority, and this is happening all across the world. Maturity models. The observation we're seeing that I'd like to run through, we're kind of in this space of making sure that we have the opportunity to ground or anchor or locate this digital content in true space. So high quality mapping is really important. Visualising it in 3D, getting out of a 2D paradigm and into 3D is really important, and we're seeing that come through as the norm. Integrating into the spatial data, all of that rich holdings that you have in your databases, whether it be in building information models or networks, is critically important. And then it starts to get interesting, because we start to bring in the IoT part, and we start to energise the opportunity here. So monitoring sensor networks, understanding what's happening in the real world, bringing it back in and marrying it up into the digital world. And what if we were to flip it and start to actuate and have it work two ways? We see it in buildings next door in P Block. We see it in 1 William Street when suddenly you get a fright when the blinds start coming down because the sun's hit a particular angle. Or Energex reaches into your home and starts fiddling with your air conditioner because they're trying to protect the energy networks. These are all examples of actuation where the models are starting to integrate with the real world. And then we're into Skynet, and the machines have taken over, and we have a really brave new future. The space at the top is what we're seeing most of the activity happening around at the moment. Some have been unkind and called this part of the digital twin the zombie digital twin. The zombie bit is because it doesn't have a pulse. It hasn't been enabled with IoT and sensor networks, and it's not connecting. I think it's a bit unfair, but if you hear that term, that's what it's largely referring to. But that's a twin. What happens when we start to look at twins and we think of an ecosystem? We've seen what's happening in whether it be TMR or rail or Queen's Wharf or 1 William Street, and they're examples of twins, and they'll be at different levels of maturity, but they'll be right across all of the domains. So the conversations we're having at our digital twin steering committee are around a couple of activities. Anchoring those twins, so connecting them into space and making sure we know where they are in 3D. Connecting them. What do we need to do to put into place the connections that enable them to appropriately communicate with each other? What are the standards, small s, capital S standards that are needed here? And very importantly, what's going to help us work together? Because we can put the first two things in place and have standards for connection, and we can have them in the true space, but if we're not prepared to collaborate and work together and share data and actually exercise the content, we will not achieve the full benefit of those ecosystems. And you'll note that I've used data exchange, really quite daunting coming up here with pre-prepared slides, hoping that they marry the conversation that took place earlier. We're not driving an open data agenda. It is a data exchange that needs to occur. It's not just open, it's closed data as well, and there needs to be a market in here. And I think we can create, if successful, a whole new economy about jobs and services that sit on top of this opportunity. So my last slide. To Adam's point, digital twins, it is an ambitious exercise, but if it's not ambitious, it's not worth doing, yeah? So I think we have the bold opportunity. This will be a marathon, not a sprint. I'm not here saying we have this all nutted out, and hence part of today is about reaching out, because no one sector, agency or profession can claim or own or know exactly how this is going to pan out. We do have to work together on that. We've drawn together some of the state agencies to continue this on, and as have ComSec. We are working on a business case, a strategic high-level business case, to try to put some numbers around what the opportunity looks like for digital twin and SEQ. We've been looking to work and are working very closely with Data 61, who also are keeping eyes on what's happening in Western Sydney and in Victoria and across the nation, and that's really important that we connect into CSIRO and their learnings and capabilities. But we're after your assistance, particularly from industry, around use cases, the next steps around frameworks and standards. How do we move forward from here? So we are today opening up a conversation, and it's been a fantastic session, and I've genuinely learnt a lot. But the next steps, working with the peaks, working with people who have great ideas, how do we bring this along and move it ahead? So I'm not going to say too much more, except this is probably, in my career, the most exciting, galvanising opportunity that I've seen around digital twin, or a matter whatever else we call it going forward from here. And I really look forward to working with all of you as we put some meat on the bones and hopefully roll out a fantastic opportunity over the next year, 5, 10, 15. thanks very much for coming along today. A couple of quick thanks, if I can, and I know Neil will wrap up as well, but I would like to thank all of the speakers, the panel members, particularly Neil for the great job he's done today, and my team for helping to put this together. We had to move to this venue because of the interest, so there may not be enough sandwiches for everyone. Could my team just eat the virtual sandwiches, please? And we'll leave the real sandwiches for the guests. But again, thanks very much. I'll hand back to Neil.
Thank you.